This really is it's the worst show possibly in WWE history. It's also the death, if you like, of the new generation. Because this is the moment where everything they built up to over the last year is proved to have completely and legitimately and comprehensively failed. This is notorious, this show. Over on Cage Match, it has, I believe, 1.27 out of 10. And that number then appears in red. And I'd never seen a red number on Cage Match. It's a proper warning. It's saying, you've seen the number, but be really aware of it.
It's like asbestos. It's not going to hit you now, but 30 years in the future, you're going to feel its effects.
What's fascinating about that is they also put the scores, the combined average scores that it's got since Cage Match started in about 2004. And you can see it's scoring worse over time. So a decade ago, people were giving it 3 out of 10. Now they're giving it 1 out of 10. The comments on that really sum it up. If Jerry Lawler sucking his own toes is the highlight of an event, you can tell it's a despicable waste of everyone's time. Despicable. What's odd in this is you can see that a lot of people in this will go on to be key members of the roster in the Attitude Era, at which point they'll be good. And you see in this second match, you have Bob Sparkplug Holly taking on the roadie, who would be Road Dogg Jesse James.
Yes.
The two of them do come out and they do wrestle at a pitch that you go, oh, this is quite fun. This isn't bad at all. But they're stuck in such bad gimmicks and they're so far down the card that really anything they do, you just go, you're all pathetic. This is tawdry and shit.
There's a lovely moment where the Hardy Boys.
That's right.
And the Royal Helpers.
That's right. So the doors that everybody enters through are held open by Matt and Jeff Hardy.
Couple of cherubs. Couple of cherubic boys.
Matt is 20, Jeff Hardy's 17.
Oh.
Weird to employ a 17-year-old. The following night, Jeff Hardy would wrestle on Monday Night Raw. He would take on the debuting Waylon Mercy, who was Dan Spivey, in a Cape Fear-inspired gimmick that didn't last because Dan Spivey's hips had gone to powder.
Right, okay.
A bit where you go, sign my contract, I've got to tell you, I'm not working anymore. And Matt Hardy would take on Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Oh.
He would put him over. You shouldn't employ people who are 17.
No, yeah, we
especially not to fight big old men. I just think it's weird. What is funny, again, we talk about this being that key moment where you go, the past it has to end because we need to go somewhere new. You have that funny moment where you've got the Hardy Boys standing there as the roadie comes through. And of course, these guys are the faces of the next 3 years. And it's just amazing seeing them all here while everything is in the toilet. You are the turds who will float. I understand saying that apropos of nothing seems offensive.
Especially to a 17-year-old.
But all of you...
Floaty, you fucking turd. Oh, God.
I can't wait to see you up against Dan Spivey's crumbly hips. I bet your hips aren't crumbly. I bet they're all limber. They were struggling really, really creatively in WWF at this time. They also had a really surprisingly thin roster. They didn't have any big names. What you end up with is you're in the middle of this new generation and they've been racking their brains working out what young people would like to see. And they've basically decided what they want to see is a lot of neon costumes and they want to see people who are defined by the job they do. And that job won't be a wrestler.
2.0.
It's slightly like that.
Colourful, isn't it?
When you see NXT 2.0 and you see quite sort of basic gimmicks and the neon and stuff, there's a weird reflex action I get where I go, this is like the new generation. They are not talking to established fans. They are trying to go, hey, kids, put down your Rugrats DVD. Come and see what the big boys are doing.
Yeah.
And it's sort of disastrous. This was coupled with just baffling booking decisions. And the decisions taken in this show are some of the worst that have ever been taken in WWF history. They have a confusing storyline that's going through with Savio Vega, where they're going, he is the underdog and he's going to go all the way to the end, at which point he's going to get destroyed by someone who's basically done one match and cannot fucking wrestle. So they squander all of that. There's loads of really bad decisions made of the stars that they had they decided they wouldn't have on this show, or they wouldn't have Proceed. And what they found themselves with, they have a handful of huge names, and all of these guys happen to be baby faces. So you have Diesel, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and Undertaker. They're all faces. And underneath them, you've got Lex Luger and Razor Ramon. The biggest heel they have is Sid. Then it's Jeff Jarrett, who's the Intercontinental Champion. Then probably Jerry Lawler. And then there is no one. So on this show, what they're trying to do is they're going, well, do you know what? We're a bit thin. Let's create a new, terrifying, massive bad guy. And we'll also create a great new babyface. And both of these things go very, very badly wrong. They also go wrong because of where this takes place. And it takes place in Philadelphia, in the Spectrum. And Philadelphia, at this point, it's always been a real hotbed wrestling city. And it's known for its vocal and punishing fans. What those fans, a lot of them, and a lot of them are in the front row, have discovered in the last year or so is ECW. And ECW has turned its back on this idea of going, we're all cartoon characters. And it's got back to going, here is wrestling for grown-ups. And a lot of those grown-ups are here watching this show, the very nadir of professional wrestling. And they eventually will make themselves known in a great moment in the main event, which is just staggeringly embarrassing for the WWF. Decisions made on this. Razor Ramon was out with rib injuries. He was supposed to be in the tournament. That didn't happen. But they made the decision not to put Jeff Jarrett in the tournament. They had Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith wrestle to a double count out. So neither of those two were in the show. Yeah. And then they take the big stars like Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and they eliminate them in the first match that they have.
That was the main one for me. It was just, maybe with history, maybe they weren't as big stars, but it just seems like, I mean, they give someone who looks miserable and is a really good wrestler a comedy match. And it's just like, why would you do that? Give it to anyone else.
I mean, what's really interesting about this is at the time, everyone thought, well, this is Shawn Michaels. He'll have this King of the Ring. And I think that could have helped the King of the Ring. The King of the Ring always struggled. And there was something about the tournament format which people just didn't really like. And I think part of it is wrestling, you have to promote the matches. And what you can't do is say, you don't know 4 of the matches that you're going to see. People don't like it. They want to know what the main event is. This is not helped by the fact that the main event they put on is basically something if you went to a house show, you'd get. This is a main event that sold no tickets.
Yeah.
What they should have done is it should have been Shawn Michaels and they should have built that and they could have carried on that going. It may have saved the concept of King of the Ring. But King of the Ring just gutters down and down and down, apart from the blip next year, where it becomes the most important show of all time. So we start with the blimp, the WWF blimp.
Yes.
Floating over Philadelphia.
Blimps were so over back then.
Well, I mean,
where'd all the blimps go?
Where's it from?
Where's it from? Where did
there's
it go?
a WWF blimp that you have to...
I mean, so it's a company that owns a blimp. And a bit of paint.
I imagine there's an awful lot of Icopro and steroids and cocaine that was shifted about using a blimp. I have a feeling like blimp security is lower than like airport security.
Yeah, because you wouldn't understand it, would you? Where can you hide stuff in a blimp? Well, there's a lot of it.
Well, it just takes off from a field as well. A privately owned field run by Pablo Escobar. You know, the silent blimp going through the night. Invisible. Really strange. McMahon it has nothing to do with King of the Ring either.
Yeah.
The King of the Ring pay-per-view is the easiest one in some ways to do the titles for. Because you just go... And you go, who will be crowned? It's so easy.
Yeah.
And here they're just like, look at that blimp. Look at that big blimp.
Why are you bringing the blimp in?
Over the city of brotherly love. None of this is any good. Vince McMahon says the word monarchy and he says it really weirdly. He kind of goes, tonight, monarchy will reign. Monarchy.
Oh, is he trying to say anarchy?
I don't know.
Is he trying to say anarchy?
Anarchy.
Awful.
Again, it slightly talks that everyone is having difficulty formulating thoughts at this time.
Everyone's a bit starved of oxygen.
Yeah.
Maybe the blimp has deposited a lot of hydrogen. Helium in there.
This takes place about 8 months after Vince McMahon has been cleared of conspiracy to distribute steroids.
Right.
The big legal case he had against the US government. So there is a sense here almost that Vince is so relieved that he can't really focus. Everything's a bit... I can imagine the whole thing just stank of champagne. Everyone just celebrating constantly. We open with Stephanie Wiand, who is giving the Coliseum home video exclusive.
In front of a disgusting sheet.
Isn't it?
Every new American wrestling show I watch. There's some new name, and I go, I've not heard that one before.
Yes.
Wiand.
She is slightly sort of like a cult figure because she only had a short period where she was there, and she seemed uniquely unsuited to this job.
Let's go back to Stephanie.
Well, I guess Todd's the man. Todd, I have the new Intercontinental Champion, Razor Ramon. Double J Jeff Jarrett. He's right here.
Hey,
what do you have to say about this, Double J?
I don't quite know what she did beforehand, but she joined the WWF in late '94 as the host of WWF Mania. Right. And Mania was the show that looked the most like the Rugrats. It was really sort of horrible neon graphics, in sort of like green and hot pink and yellow. It would sort of roll towards you on the screen, the titles, and it would be horrible. And she was the host of that with Todd Pettingill. She was brought in as a Christmas present in a box that he opened, which
good God.
different times.
Different times.
And she replaced Randy Savage, who had previously been doing that job.
Brilliant.
Just go! Okay, I'm out of here.
Let's get to the action from Monday Night Raw last
Todd.
week.
Shake my hand. All right.
Goodbye.
Later. 9
Marty
days away,
Jannetty,
Todd. See ya.
Bastion Booger.
I'll be right
Just
over.
leave.
Okay, I'll be right over there if you need me, but you probably won't.
She hosted the first In Your House event, and then she featured in the WWF Raw video game. But she left the WWE in July 1995 due to what was described as a contract dispute. It doesn't line up that she was renegotiating a contract. I think the contract dispute is WWE sort of went, we do not want to go through this contract to its end.
They're disputing the visibility and existence of the next contract.
Exactly that.
One party says there is one, and the other party says there isn't one.
There is a contract, but we don't want there to be. and so that seems to have been the dispute, where she went, but you have to abide by contracts. And they went,
darling.
You've got a lot to learn.
Literally back in your box.
She is now billed on Wikipedia as a producer and actress. She is known for Revenge of the Bimbot Zombie Killers, 2014, and Deliver the Mother, 2018.
In a box! Yay! In a present.
I did look at her Wikipedia. There's a big flag thing at the top that says, the topic of this article may not meet Wikipedia's notability guidelines for biographies.
Definitely wrote it herself. Love it. Not time for that.
What she does is she introduces the first match. Yeah. And this is part of what the WWE used to call free-for-alls. Matches that went out. This one went out on Shotgun Saturday night. What's interesting about this is, on the network, most of these matches are not included. And they've included it here because it tells that broader story of Savio Vega's big challenge against all of the, the odds that are against him.
Does it do that, or does it suggest that they just accidentally left it in?
Well, I mean, what I found fascinating about this is when Razor Ramon pulls out and they decide, do you know what? We could take this new character, Savio Vega, and we could put a rocket under him. That'd be great. Yeah. Well, what they wanted to do here was they wanted to go, we need him to qualify. The problem is, at this time, they were recording all of their shows months in advance. So everything that went out on TV had been done 2 months ago. Yeah. So they couldn't put it into regular programming, and they had to put it in this live show, which went out before the pay-per-view. So he had to do it on that night because there was no way they could do it in the week beforehand. Right. So he ends up doing, quadruple duty, I think. He's just the wrong person to choose. So Savio Vega, they bill him as being from the South Bronx in New York. Vega had been a star with the WWC of Puerto Rico as TNT, and he'd been a champion there, and he was quite a big name on the Caribbean scene. He'd been brought into the WWF a year before, and he'd put on a mask, and he was Kwang the Ninja.
Kwang the Ninja. Fantastic.
Now, Kwang the Ninja was exactly that really bad at the time karate fighters sort of thing. He had a mask on, he blew mist, and he went wah, 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 with his hands. He was very much a lower mid-card character. I can't remember if he ever won a match. Didn't feel like it. And they obviously had the sort of sense of going, he is a foreigner. He's not American, so he can be another foreigner. That is all fine because they're all just foreign. A very sort of demeaning way of doing it. He'd been reintroduced at In Your House 1 when Razor Ramon was being beaten down by Jeff Jarrett and the Roadie as Razor Ramon's childhood friend. I mean, they bill him as being from the South Bronx, and Razor Ramon is very much billed as being from Miami, Florida. So quite a sort of difference there. Maybe there was a school partway in between. Not quite sure. And again, they've got that thing of Razor Ramon is Cuban, and this guy is Puerto Rican. Same thing.
Friends.
Same thing.
Friends forever.
Yeah. Two of them, different parts of America, naturally would become friends. They'd managed to do that. And they made the decision really to put him in this King of the Ring. He'd only been on television 2 or 3 times. He'd been a character in WWE for 6 weeks.
Wow.
If it had worked, then great.
Genius.
Yeah, really, really well. But it wasn't booked well. Savio Vega wasn't the guy for that booking. And it was just shite. It was just complete shite. He takes on IRS in this first match.
Yeah.
And again, not the man to launch this whole thing with. There is very much at this period a funny thing where the big guys look at the people around and go, I am not going to damage my stock by losing to these fucking losers.
Yeah.
And so when your Shawn Michaels won't do a job and your Bret Hart isn't going to be doing your jobs and things like that, what becomes really apparent is you go, we have to use people like IRS. IRS is... There has never been anyone on television who is more done in his career than IRS in this match. He looks both like he's put on a lot of weight and that he's lost a lot of weight, but the clothes are really big. And I can't work out which of the two it is.
Maybe I've been watching too much modern wrestling, but he seems exceedingly tall.
Yes, he did.
He looks exceedingly big in this match.
Yeah, what you're beginning to see, of course, is with the slight talent drain and with the sense that, you can't just bulk yourself up on loads of stuff. A lot of these people don't seem like the superstars of a few years before. And Savio Vega's a perfect example. He is oddly tubby. He's got a little face on a very round pea head. He slightly looks, even though he's young, he slightly looks like he might be balding. He could be in his 50s. And there's just something like his clothing as well. It's not really a look. I don't know what it is. It just looks cheap and it doesn't look like real people's clothes. He looks like he's had to develop new clothing because he can't afford real clothes. Everything about it is just appalling. IRS, I mean, he was boring at the best of times.
Yeah.
Even, when he was able to semi-main event, he was dull. And in this, I mean, he really sweats in this as well. And everything about it reeks of desperation.
Yeah.
This is a bad start to a show, and it really just will not get any better. So look, we managed to get one match through. Well done us.
That's what we do. Well done.
And we're going to be back next week with some of the worst matches that you could ever have the gall to literally charge people money to see.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't be better.
It could not be better than that.
Wrestle me,
Wrestle me, Mark.